Welcome to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast, the podcast for serious soccer players and their supporters to help further their development and navigate their way throughout their soccer careers. And now, here's your host, Matt Langone.
Welcome into another episode of New England Soccer Journal's The Goal Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Langone. Today I'm joined in studio by NESJ writer Matt Doherty, and our guest will be Oakwood Soccer Club Girls Academy Director Marisa Kresge. Marisa, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's good to have you, and we're in the spring here, so that's nice. Still cold outside, but you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel here. We're getting better weather, and the season's cranking up, so it's a great time to have you in here and talk about Oakwood heading deeper into the spring season. So first and foremost, I know you guys had a good showing for the club at the Jefferson Cup a couple weeks back down in Virginia. How did that go from your perspective?
Yeah, it was a great experience for our teams to play outside clubs from other conferences and other leagues. So it was really good exposure from a college recruiting standpoint for 2009s and 2008s. The 2010s got to go to the final. They advanced out of their bracket, which was an amazing accomplishment for that group. And we had some really good performances. The 2009s went 3-0 at the showcase, scored some really good goals, defensively contributed to some shutouts. And then the 2008s were placed in the top bracket. They went 1-2, but they ended up getting a win against PDA Blue ECNL. So that was a highlight for a Northeastern team to get that win. But it was a good experience.
Now, did you came to Oakwood, was it a year ago? Was it 2024?
Yes. So I started officially a year ago, April 15th, 2024.
Wow. So we're almost at the 1 year anniversary today as we speak. So how is, that first year gone through your eyes? When you came to Oakwood, what was kind of your outlook coming in and how things kind of matched what you were hoping to do in that first year?
So it was a transition, and it's still been a bit of a transition. We transitioned from two owners who had the club for 40 years into an ownership group, and that was who brought me on. I knew the great history of Oakwood from a college recruiting standpoint. I spent 9 years in university prior to going full-time into club. So I knew the history of the girls' side of the club. I knew they were very competitive, won a national championship, produced some really good individually talented players. So coming into that, I knew the history of it. And then this first year of transition, I was really excited about what the new ownership group wanted to do with the club, the direction, and the vision for it. I think that our families have done a phenomenal job throughout this experience with being open to new things, buying into our process, and just really jumping fully into it.
When you take over a club, Marisa, like what's that like for you, and what kind of message tone did you have to set at the beginning and kind of reflecting a year later? Like what's the message when you start something new like this and take over a club?
Yeah, I think it's really the biggest thing, I think, is consistent communication. I think you have to have consistent communication when you're communicating your messaging, your vision, your direction, because you believe in what you're doing, but you need to get other people on board to believe in what you're doing as well. So the more you are able to articulate it through meetings, through emails, through team training sessions and things like that, it gets people to buy into what you're doing. The biggest thing that we wanted to instill was our playing philosophy and how we wanted to train individual players. So the individuals at the center of what we do, we want to maximize their potential and really highlight them in a team environment. So that is how we try to educate our coaches, try to support our players in team training sessions and games, and just constantly reinforcing that message through parent meetings, communication. Has really been something that I have tried to do to get people on board so that they understand why we're doing it. And it's just one way of doing it. It doesn't mean it's the right way, but it's going to be our way. And hopefully they believe in that way as well.
So you've coached at the high college level, Illinois State University, Wisconsin, where you played as well. So you've been around high level soccer at the college level. How much does your philosophy or mindset have to change coming, back to kind of the younger levels who are going through that recruiting phase and still kind of in their development, obviously high level at the girls academy, but did you have to change your mindset and maybe expectations of players, or, what did that do to you coming here?
I've always been a very detail oriented person. So the way that I coach, I think small things make big things happen. So body shape, um, tackling with the proper foot, receiving with the far foot, just simple details that I call fundamentals. I coached that way in college, and I've taken that to the club level as well. As a recruiting coordinator in college, I would identify individual players. We weren't recruiting a team. So what individual players had a skill set that were going to fit into how we wanted to play. I believe individual players can change a game. So I really took that philosophy from recruiting and coaching at the highest levels to the club world of how can we develop those individual players to support them within their journey? How can we maximize what they can do? Every player is different. They don't need to fit into one system or one player characteristic or quality. It's really what they bring to the table and what's going to make them unique. How can we help support them and continue to make their strengths super strengths and refine their areas of growth? So I believe the players set the standard for the team or the program. And then it's important for staff and directors to uphold those standards. So it's just readjusting it for the level, but those details, no matter what, still need to be implemented in a daily environment.
Yeah, kind of going off that, what are the differences that you see working with college players first and now going to high schoolers and sometimes right even younger than high schoolers? Like what are there similarities? Are there differences? And for you personally, like are there challenges that came about when you started at Oakwood?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me is reminding myself that these guys are going through the process. They're all youth players. Obviously, no environment's going to be perfect. In college, we had high expectations and standards, and every day wasn't easy. Some days are more challenging than others, but it's how can you meet the individual where they're at. Connecting on a personal level is a lot more of a challenge for me in the club environment, just because can't go get coffee with them. As a coach, they're in school. They're in school all day. Whereas in university, we would train in the middle of the day. So I would have meetings individually before or after training with those players. Now it's a really different relationship. You see them on the field sometimes between 5 and 9, and you get them 3 days a week. You don't get them every day. And how the communication happens outside of the environment, the parents involved, whereas in university, they're not really involved as much. You're just interacting because they are adults, they're young adults, whereas here they are children. And so remembering to ask about, well, how was school today? But they'll tell you about recess and how PE class went, whereas other kids are talking about my chemistry exam or midterms are coming up in college. So redefining what a relationship looks like and trying to find ways to build it has definitely been a challenge. But it's enjoyable to hear how their days go and what it looks like compared to the college players.
So you played at Maryland, you played at Wisconsin. I mean, that's what I I guess every player at Oakwood and any player who's playing girls academy, they're aspiring to do that. I mean, those are high level Division I programs. Do you feel like that gives you a certain amount of cachet with the players, or I mean, it obviously is credibility, but like, do you use that card to be like, you know, guys, I played at this level. I know kind of what I coached at this level. I know what they're looking for at this level. Or do you kind of not even bring that up to them and just kind of develop them in their own way?
Interesting. So because I'm from the mid-Atlantic. I grew up in Maryland.
Right.
These guys don't really, some of them know about my playing background. Some of them Googled me. Some of them don't. I don't bring it up unless they just found out that my 2012s found out that I played at Wisconsin, and they're like, "You played at Wisconsin?" And I was like, "Yes."
You got to be talking. I don't know how you don't talk about that. I mean, that's
It's a
Wisconsin.
bragging
Yeah.
point right there.
It's a flex.
So some of them know, some of them don't. If they do ask about it, I definitely share my experiences, and I will, when we are doing college recruiting, I will share about my college journey was unique. I transferred before the transfer portal was a
Right.
thing.
You were ahead of your time on that. Yeah.
Pioneer
Yeah,
before.
right? So my journey was unique, but it was great. It made me who I am. I don't use it as a basis unless those players ask. But it's funny when they find out or learn certain things just because it's not common knowledge. Since I'm not from here, I didn't grow up here.
Right. But I mean, when they do ask you, do you then downplay it, or do you embrace it and be like, yeah, I played at Wisconsin. It was awesome. It's a Big Ten program. I mean, do you go into detail, or do you just kind of downplay the whole thing?
I'll go into some details. Usually, I'll Rose LaBelle as a reference point for Wisconsin. I'll say that
Yeah.
I played with Rose. And then whatever Marissa did in college loses all credibility.
Yeah.
They're star shocked by that. So I'll give them some tidbits and things like that. Like we'll talk about winning. Winning's fun. Winning 2 Big Ten championships in college was an amazing experience, but it's more about building the team camaraderie and relationships that you have with each program going through. So
Mm.
Did you always know that you wanted to coach as a player, and what got you into coaching?
I did. That was actually part of my college recruiting experience. I really wanted to be a professional soccer player. I was told that that probably was not going to be the case. I had limitations as a player with my abilities. Wasn't the most physical or athletically gifted, but my timing was pretty good, so that made me effective. So looking at different types of universities, I really wanted to put myself I always valued the tactical side of the game. I wanted to put myself in the best environment where I was going to be challenged. I was going to be the small fish in the big pond. That's how I ended up at University of Maryland. And then even when I was transferring, I wanted more of a soccer playing experience. I didn't necessarily get that at Maryland. It was a challenge and I knew it was going to be a challenge, but we went through a head coaching change. Um, and I really respect both coaches that I had at Maryland. I have really good relationships with them, but I wanted something different because the man who took the job was actually my club coach at one point. So I wanted a little bit of a different experience. So I explored transferring, found a really good fit at Wisconsin, and didn't always start and play, but was able to contribute over my 3 years there. And that was a great experience.
What do you think of the major advantages? I mean, in using the platform of Girls Academy, because there's ECNL and then there's Girls Academy, and they're both high level and they both produce a lot of Division I players and have perennially high level clubs. But what's the advantage that Girls Academy offers as a platform that maybe other platforms don't offer?
I think the Girls Academy does a really good job at getting the players involved.
Mm.
They have the advisory board where players from U14 and up are able to represent their teams. They're able to meet with a league rep in the Northeast. They try to get coaches and directors involved in it. So it really tries to give girls and women a voice, which I think is pretty unique. And just from an exposure standpoint, I think that putting on the national events, trying to be very strategic with we have summer, we have winter, and we have spring, whereas some other platforms utilize more events, which is great for them. But I think it also is an advantage that we do have those 3 events because they are very strategically placed throughout the year and the country, which give us the ability for those players to get exposed to college coaches.
Yeah, and now GA has a relationship with MLS Next, right? I saw that at the
Yep.
Generation Adidas Cup, they're going to have an all-star game kind of for GA players. So does that benefit the cause even more for the GA having that relationship with MLS Next?
I think the MLS Next relationship is massive
Yeah.
for the growth of the league and just continuing to raise the standard and look at what we want from our platform and what they've done already and what we've done and they can take from us. So I think that that collaborative relationship is going to be massive for just continuing to enhance the Girls Academy and what we can offer moving forward.
Wait, so why did you make the move from college to youth soccer? Like, what went behind that decision when you decided to join Oakwood?
I think college soccer, my dream was always to be a college soccer coach. I really wanted to be a head coach. I had an amazing experience as a assistant at Wisconsin. And I wanted to dip my toes in the water. It wasn't everything that I thought it would be. There's a lot of things that it is literally 1% coaching when you are a head coach. And that wasn't something I was aware of it, but it was different. And I think I tried to take over a program that was in a unique spot. When I was there previously as an assistant, we had the best program record in history. We went to the second round of the NCAA tournament. And then when I took over, we were 330th in the RPI out of 342
Wow.
teams. So it was a really big change. And I I tried to make something work, and I just wasn't enjoying it. It
Mm,
wasn't working for me, and it wasn't working for the team. And I think reflecting back, leaving college athletics was the best thing. I had amazing experience and amazing memories, but with what I want to do and be more involved in soccer, club environment seemed like the best fit to be coaching more actively and just be around the game. Whereas there's a lot of other things in college to manage.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't know how any college coach in these sports is handling things right now with the portal. I mean, recruiting was already difficult, flying all over the country when your off season's here and finding players. Now you're going to deal with the portal. I mean, it's like, players transfer, they'll go to 3 or 4 schools in their college career, so it's hard to get them to stay. What's your thoughts on the state of the college game right now? I mean, we had a story in our magazine that just came out on the recruiting conundrum that's facing players right now, freshmen, because a lot of schools just don't want to recruit. Division I schools don't necessarily want to recruit freshmen. They'd rather find a 20-year-old, junior, 21-year-old junior, because they're just more physically strong and have that college experience. So do you think it's healthy where the college game is right now, or do you think it's getting a little bit more difficult to navigate?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to navigate.
Yeah.
That is clearly there. I think the biggest thing is, what does the NCAA want with college athletics anymore? I
Right.
think they really need to take a
I don't
deep
think
look.
they even know. That's
Money.
Fair.
yeah.
When I was going through college, my 5th year at Wisconsin, it started to become student athletes having more of a voice, and like we got free breakfast for the first time ever on a daily basis. And that was huge because they were trying to cater towards student athletes and make it more of a student athlete experience. They increased participation at uh, the Big Ten tournament to get more teams so student athletes could get that experience. Now I think you look at it with the roster caps of 28 players for those teams that opt into the I'm blanking, the new deal with the money.
Yeah.
Now student athletes are going to change their experience. It's even more of a transactional, I must win. And if I don't win, I'm going to lose my job. And that's my livelihood for my family. So I have to make hard decisions of, am I going to recruit an 18-year-old player, or am I going to take somebody from the transfer portal who already has a basis? And yes, maybe I have to pay them money, but now they're able to come in and I know that they might be able to perform more so. It's a known quantity, whereas a incoming freshman, you don't know. They've only
Right.
played in club. So they're not really tested in the NCAA landscape of any capacity. So I think that's a really big challenge. And I think that knowing what you're going to get, you used to be able to have walk-ons and develop players over the course of 4 years. Wisconsin, from my experience, did a really good job both when I was a player and as a coach. They took players who were local, walk-on players who developed into starters over 2 or 3 years, and then became all Big Ten players. I don't think we're going to see that as much because now if you don't win, you're out as a college
Right.
coach.
What
That part,
what frus- what frustrates me totally too about it as a college sports fan is, like, it used to be, being a fan of a college program was like awesome. The kids would come in,
yeah,
you'd have them for 3 or 4 years. Hopefully, but now it's like they're here for a year, they're gone the next year. You can't really get attached to the players. You can't really get attached to anything that's happening in the program. Coaches are moving all over the place. Um, the NIL money, which whatever. I mean, I don't even know if I have a problem with NIL at all, but it's creating just a wild, wild west. I think we said it in our story. It's just nuts. And do you feel like it's going to keep going like this, or do you think there'll be something we'll have to give and they'll have to kind of stabilize and come back to what it used to be in college sports?
I don't know the ins and outs. I know that even when I was still at Wisconsin back, I left in May of 22.
Yeah.
You were talking about name, image, and likeness and creating collectives and getting money for players. And that was just this mind blowing
Right.
experience. It
Right.
was like,
Imagine that.
this sounds great. But then there were certain states that had rules and regulations. Other ones didn't uphold it. Different courts are coming in with different statements. I think that for the NCAA to sustain itself with what I know, which honestly isn't much now that I've been out of it for a year,
Mm,
um, they're going to have to change because athletic departments aren't financially stable from a revenue standpoint with sports. A lot of them use student fees to fund themselves. I think there's only a handful of college programs in the country, all Power Fours included, that are financially independent from the university that generate enough revenue to offset the cost. I think now that you're going to have these 1.1 billion or however many million going back to the student athletes, in theory, it's great, but where's that money coming from? I don't think it's viable to put that on academic universities if that isn't their goal. So I think that there's going to be a very big divide. I think that if you look at it, probably the Big Ten has the academic portion of it that they really value. And then the SEC obviously has like really high sports revenue with their SEC TV program and stuff.
right.
Obviously, ACC, but you really dominate football in the SEC. Big Ten has both basketball. So I think you're going to start to see like some schools won't be able to sustain it. I know there's a lot of conference switching right now, but I think over the next 5 years, there's going to be even more of a big divide with who survives and who doesn't and what it looks like. I think the experience is going to be completely redefined here in the next 4 or 5 years, if not
Yeah,
sooner.
I'll never get used to seeing UCLA as a Big Ten team. I mean, I just get such the fact that UCLA and Oregon they're
Weird.
playing in the Big Ten is just it's nuts. Nuts.
The rivalries are like
Narratives.
They're gone
not
now.
there.
And
They're
that
not
how about the travel budgets now too? Like you're at UCLA, you're flying to like Penn State for a game. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, Stanford in the ACC, the
Yeah.
Atlantic Coast Conference has Stanford and Cal.
Right.
correct. So if you look at this, they're making decisions based off of football and basketball. Football
Right.
plays a single game, however many. Women's soccer plays Thursday, Sunday. You
Right.
leave on Wednesday. With the time change, you could potentially have to leave on Tuesday.
I
'cause
know
you
it.
can't afford to get in late. The Big Ten, I don't know if they still do, but you could only miss 5 academic days during the
Right.
Big Ten conference. So you had to be very strategic with how you planned your travel because
Right.
academic day lasted until 2 p.m. So you couldn't leave until after 2 unless you were willing to sacrifice losing that whole day. I
Right.
don't know how they do it anymore. I don't know how these players go to school and are student athletes.
Right.
It's a really big challenge for them to have to navigate.
Right.
Um,
One more quick one before Matt gets one in. Has NIL infiltrated a lot into soccer yet? I mean, I think I read that Allie Sentner when she was at North Carolina her last year. I think she had some NIL deals. I think I saw her online. But do you feel like is it still more happening for like football and basketball, or is it coming into soccer too? Because I mean, a lot of women's soccer players are, especially if they're on the national radar, are pretty big stars. So is it coming into those circles yet? You think?
I think the top 15 players get a lot of interest in
Yeah.
the country throughout. It doesn't matter whether you're a youth player or collegiate player
Right.
from different brands and things like that. I think for the majority of college women's soccer players, they go a little bit of a different route of getting like they'll partner with brands and get free items and promote them on Instagram and things like that. So while they
Yeah.
might not get direct money of I'm going to make $100,000 by signing with Lululemon,
Right.
uh, it's going to be I'm going to get this sports drink or I'm going to get this facial product and then I'll promote it on Instagram and social
Yeah.
media. So I think they're doing it. I think the majority of college women's soccer players are doing it a little bit different, but I still think they're getting some pretty good benefits from it, which is awesome to see. It's great that it's not just football and basketball
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Transitioning back to Oakwood before we wrap up, um, like take me through the last year and sort of the progress process that you and the club have been on and sort of the next year as well. Like where do you want the club to go? What are the goals of the girls side and how do you sort of measure that progress as well?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things coming in was just cleaning up some of the standards and creating more of a high performance environment that was consistent across all our teams, not just specific high school teams or dependent on the coach. That was one of the biggest things I wanted to create. a relationship as one club on the girls' side, so that we were all connected and it wasn't individuals off on their own or feeling like you were in a silo. I think our staff has done an amazing job of buying into what we're trying to create and being a part of the process. Everybody's been at each other's games. It's just been really great. We have weekly meetings. We consistently communicate. And so that translates, I think, to what the players and the parents feel as a byproduct of our relationships with one another and what we're trying to achieve to create the environment for them. And then looking at like style of play, really emphasizing developing individuals and how can we coach the individual, not necessarily the individual on the ball, but coaching them so that they do get those details right so that when college coaches are evaluating them, they have the skill set and foundation to be successful. And that's a player that they would want to recruit because they do the basics well. Looking at that, that's really been the foundation of what we've been trying to build this fall into spring. Obviously, results have been, we've had some really good weekends and really good results. And then in the league, we've had a mixture. I think that shows the competitiveness of the Northeast League as a whole. But we've been in every game. And I think this past weekend, both opponents complimented us on our style of play. That was pretty consistent and present across the girls' academy side, whether it was 2013 through 2007. And that's really nice to hear. So continuing to educate parents throughout it, and our coaches that it's not always about wins and losses. While winning is fun and we do want to win as much as possible, it is about, are we developing individual players? Are we developing a style of play so that a year or two from now, do we get more results rather than sacrificing winning at all costs right now, but not really developing the individual. So we're really focused on that. And the parents have been amazing in this. And I think if you get parents to buy in to what you're doing and what you believe in, then it's a pretty seamless process. So I've had a really good year with our staff, our players, and our families. And then as we transition into this next year, it's just looking to provide some stability. I know there's been some changes at Oakwood, so providing some stability to our parents and families, and then just continuing to build as we transition into next season.
Yeah. I do a lot of MLS Next stuff too. So Adriano, who took over the boys side, like I've talked to him when he first took the job and sort of like his expectations. And I know it's a huge move, like starting over a new program, and they've had a nice start to the spring. So it's been cool to see, and you as well. So awesome. I know year two. Can't believe it, huh?
Goes by so fast.
I
Last time
know.
I checked, we were in December, and now it's
Yeah.
It's crazy. My son was just saying like, oh, third quarter at school, third quarter ends this week. I'm like, oh my, we're in the fourth quarter of school. Like this year's like winding down already. It's nuts. Feels like it just started.
I know.
Crazy. But yeah, Marisa, it sounds like everything's pointing in the right direction in Oakwood, which is good to see. And obviously we'll be keeping tabs on the teams this spring.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students can earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
Serious about playing college soccer? Elite College Soccer Camps are your gateway. Train with top college coaches and receive personalized feedback. Our West Coast Elite Camps offer exposure to national programs, plus small group seminars on recruiting and college life. Included is a free camp Zoom for parents and players covering the ever-changing recruitment landscape. At the camp conclusion, get a verbal and written 101 evaluation, free 11v11 game footage, and access our analyst option. With coaches from NESCAC to the Big West and all over the country, our unique format maximizes exposure. Trainers are on site, lunch delivery is available, and parents can watch every game. Our camps sell out, so don't miss out. Register now at elitecollegesoccercamps.com. That's elitecollegesoccercamps.com. Your path to the next level starts here. before we let you go, we're going to do some extra time stuff with David Yaz, where he's going to hit us with 3 random, probably goofy questions about the world of soccer. So we'll see what we get out of David.
That's why I got hired for this job. Goofy and random. Let's do it.
It's the end of regulation, so let's move to extra time.
Today we have the Would You Rather edition of Extra Time, soccer themed, of course. 3 questions beginning with Would you rather? You just tell us which one and why. So Marissa, we will start with you. Would you rather play a full game of soccer in pouring rain or sweltering heat?
Sweltering heat. Because
Tell us why.
I at least get tan while playing.
All right. Yeah. Make sure to drink your fluids. Keep rehydrating all along the way there. Matt L.
Wow.
Same question.
I'm going to go pouring rain.
Nice.
I've done both before, and pouring rain was definitely more enjoyable, I feel like. I mean, at least it's kind of fun to play in pouring rain. I mean, you might get hurt or something when the field's a little slippery, but I actually enjoy it. Sweltering heat's rough. I can't. I'm at the point in my life where I'd rather be freezing cold than I can't stand sweating anymore, and I sweat all the time, and I just can't stand it. Like, it's just annoying at this point.
You want me to turn the stage lights in the studio down?
Yeah, I'm already I'm sweating here as we speak.
All right, Matty D.
I do love a good sweat, but definitely the pouring rain, because hot is too hot. Like, running around for 90 minutes is not going to go well. Whereas, like, if it's cold and you're running, I like that. Like, if it's 40 degrees pouring rain, I think that would be fun. 100 degrees, no, like, that's not going to be fun. I'm going to get dehydrated. I'm going to be cranky. I'm going to be like, I'm not going to like the next 5 hours after. I'm going to be hungry. Like, that.
Yeah.
Rain.
All right.
Rain.
All right.
Marissa, like, when they played the World Cup in Qatar, like, if they had done it under normal circumstances, like in the summer, it would have been like 115 or something. Like, you couldn't handle that, could you? 115 degrees.
Hey, within the rules and regulations of what's safely allowed.
Where you won't die. Yeah.
Participate.
Right.
I'd still rather have 95 and sunny than
Wow.
don't
Wow.
do
Also, sliding on the wet grass, like, that'd be fun.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, but Marissa's going to look great all summer long with that tan. And
That's
you guys
true.
are going to look pasty.
I'm going to be pasty. Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. Would you rather play for a coach who's a tactical genius but strict, or one who's super motivational and very positive but not very strategic? Matty D, we'll start with you on that one. It's basically the no
That's
fun
tough.
coach who knows what he's doing.
Well,
Or the
or the
rah-rah
fun-
guy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Are we gonna win with the rah-rah guy?
Truth be told, you may
Like,
win more with
is he dumb?
That's the
Like,
variable. You don't know what you're going to get
Are
for
we gonna
results.
go like 1-19?
You might.
Well, both coaches think they can win. Let's put it that way. But because the motivational guy, the rah-rah guy, he thinks that's what wins. But the strict tactician has a different approach. So all things being equal.
I think if I was going through the college, say this is for college, I
Okay.
would go with the strict coach. I feel like, I need a little discipline in my life if I was entering that part of my athletic career. And I think that would provide some good life lessons for me later in life. So I would go with the strict coach.
Okay. Matt L.
I would go with the strict coach.
You would too.
The rah-rah coach has their place in sports. I feel like what you really want is like a chameleon coach who can like be something different to different players. I mean, some players need that rah-rah thing. Some players just need somebody on them at all times. I feel like you have to be able to adjust, but if I had to have one for like the whole time, I'd take the strict tactical genius, because I think the preparation will be a little better. Rah-rah, I feel like, is great sometimes, but if you've lost like 5 straight, rah-rah is not really getting it done. I mean, you need at some point, you like maybe an adjustment and not the, you can do it. Like, I think I'll take the tactical stuff.
Come on, guys. We only lost 5-1 today.
Yeah.
I mean, we still got to go.
Right.
Marissa, your thoughts? The strict guy or the fun guy? Person, sorry.
Strict. That is
Strict.
my personality. I thought that was targeted at person, not tactical. But
You don't seem strict.
I know, you don't.
33 minutes.
there's a time and place for things, and when you're on the field, it's time to perform. It's
Right.
high performance environment. So we want to get better. We want to improve, but I get the fun part, but I think winning's fun. So strict, I think it's going to win us some games.
All right. Final question for Extra Time. And Marisa, we'll start with you on this one. You're attending a soccer game as a fan. It's a big game, perhaps a World Cup game. Would you rather watch a 0-0 epic defensive battle? Sorry, I forgot I should speak soccer. 0-0 defensive battle, or a game that's sloppy and ends in a 5-4 score with a shootout? So do you want the 0-0 defensive epic struggle or the 5-4 game that's a little sloppy?
Wow, the soccer purist in me is telling me I want the 0-0 game because of what I can get from it tactically. But if I'm going to experience it as a fan, you know what? We'll have a little fun in our life and take this sloppy down.
Yeah.
It would drive you crazy if you were playing or coaching in it, perhaps. But
Correct.
all right, fair enough. You answered the question. Matt L., what do you think?
Oh, I'm going with the 5-4 sloppy high scoring. Yeah, I mean, I think that actually games like that, more games like that would actually benefit the brand of soccer as a whole anyways. Because I think that's what the people who are on like the periphery who are like kind of wanting to like soccer but won't cross over yet, they want more goals and they want that. I think a few more games like that would do us some good. I still love a 0-0 game can be incredible. And you might be some great keeper saves, some great scoring chances that just don't go through. But I'm taking the 5-4 game.
All right.
I'm going to zag a little here. I'm going to say the 0-0 game.
Nice.
But is there going to be a winner at the end? Like it's not, if it's a World Cup game.
No, ends 0-0.
Or it's like a group stage game.
You can fill in your own hypothetical facts.
Because I feel like that would be, if it was like a World Cup final that came down, 0-0 in the 90th minute. Like
you have to finish the game.
But that'd be tense. That every scoring opportunity has a heightened awareness. And I would not have given this answer in like November. So this is growth for me. I'm saying the scoreless game.
That's what life is all about, growing. That's good to see.
I would have been like action. I just want the action, but I think I'm becoming a soccer purist where I want.
There you go.
We're very proud of you, Matt.
Thank you.
You're all grown up. All three of you did terrific on Extra Time. I hope your day is more exciting than a 0-0 soccer game. Thanks to you all. Matt, back to you to wrap things up.
Good stuff, David. We've never done that one, I think. I think we've never done a Would You Rather soccer edition.
Yeah,
that was good.
I'm really running out of ideas, so don't get used to it.
You'll never run out. You're too creative with this stuff. But thanks a lot for that. And Marisa, thanks again for joining us. It was a great conversation. Lots of topics. It was great to hear your opinion on all that stuff and obviously see the direction that Oakwood is heading in.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thanks again to Marisa Kresge for joining the podcast. I'm Matt Langoni. Thanks for listening. New England Soccer Journal's The Goal podcast is produced by David Yaz and is a Siemens Media production.
You've been listening to New England Soccer Journal's The Goal podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to our podcast. Or visit anysoccerjournal.com/podcast. Siemens Media. Inspiring. Informative. Insightful.